I don't tell this one often, not because I'm ashamed of all of it, only part of it, and I suppose that's reason enough to finally say it out loud. It was January of 1945. We'd come ashore at Lingayen Gulf a few weeks before that, and by then we were pushing north through Luzon, and the jungle up there had its own opinion about all of it. The mud wasn't mud so much as something alive. It pulled at your boots like it wanted to keep you. The heat at night was still enough to make you feel like you were wearing your own skin as a punishment, and the noise, people think jungle silence means quiet. It doesn't mean quiet. It means every sound that isn't a man, so loud you start listening so hard your ears ring. There were 7 of us on that patrol. Night reconnaissance, which means you go out in the dark, you confirm what's on a trail junction about 2 miles in, and you come back without being seen and without firing unless you have no other choice. That's the whole job. Walk quiet, look, come home. One of the 7 men was a corporal named James Elmore. He was from a small town in Mississippi. I don't remember the name of it now. I knew it then. He was about 22 years old, quiet the way certain men are quiet, not shy, just economical. Didn't waste words, didn't waste much of anything. The first 3 weeks I served next to James Elmore, I told myself a story about him. I'm not proud of the story. I grew up in Georgia, and I carried things out of Georgia that I hadn't examined yet. I'd made assumptions, drawn lines before I knew a single true thing about the man standing next to me. That's the honest version. I'm giving you the honest version because I don't have time left for any other kind. What I know now is that Elmore had noticed. He wasn't blind. He understood what I thought of him before I'd said a word, and he chose, deliberately I believe, to be steady anyway, to do his job, to not give me the reaction I probably deserved. I'm still thinking about that choice of his. The night of the patrol, we moved out around 2200 hours. No moon worth a damn. The kind of dark where you put your hand in front of your face and it's a theory more than a fact. We moved in single file with about 6 feet between each man, and you track the man ahead of you by sound, by a sense you don't have a name for. Just a kind of pressure in the air that says there's a person there. We made the junction. We went still, and then we waited. That was the hardest part, not the walking, the waiting. Because waiting in the dark in a jungle in a war means your mind does things to you. It invents sounds. It invents shapes. It starts negotiating with you about what's real. I was on my stomach in the mud, rifle forward, and I don't know how long we'd been lying there, 20 minutes, maybe more, and I'll tell you plainly that I was frightened in a way that goes past adrenaline and into something quieter and colder. The kind of fear you can't outrun because there's nowhere to go. And then Elmore, who was lying right beside me in that dark, reached over and put his hand on my forearm. Just once, pressed it there for about 3 seconds, firm and steady, then pulled it back. Didn't say a word, couldn't. We were in silence, complete silence. But that hand said everything a person can say to another person in the dark. It said, I know, me too. We're still here. I don't have a word for what went through me. Something loosened, something I'd been holding rigid since we left camp, maybe since we left the ship, maybe since before that. I breathed, not a gasp, just a breath, the first real one in a while. We lay there another 15 minutes. The trail junction was cold, no movement, and we pulled back and made it home before dawn, debriefed, turned in our weapons, got our boots off, never spoke about it. I thought about it for 80 years, though. Here's what I worked out, and it took me a long time. Somebody, somewhere, had told me a story about James Elmore before I ever met him. Told me what he was and what I was and where the line between us ran. And I had believed that story without questioning it because it was the water I'd grown up swimming in. And then a jungle on an island in the Pacific took all that and set it aside because the jungle didn't care about any of it, and neither did the dark, and neither did the fear. In that dark, I couldn't have told you anything about James Elmore, except that he was there, and that his presence was the difference between holding and breaking. That was the whole truth of it. I think about this country now, and I think about what it costs us, the stories we tell about each other before we know one single true thing, the lines we believe in so completely we'd rather hold them than reach across in the dark. Somebody decided we were different. We decided they were right. Then a jungle in the Philippines suggested otherwise. James Elmore, I don't know if he's still alive. I hope he is. I hope somebody who loves him knows what kind of man he was on a dark trail at 2200 hours in January of 1945, what that steadiness cost him, and that he gave it anyway. I keep waiting for us to remember what we figured out when nobody was watching. That's all I've got.